Chops Garage is proud to be sponsored by Car Vertical, the largest online database of vehicle information. Do you know the true history of your vehicle? Run a check now. Link in the description down below.
So for all of those thinking you like the idea of a trade sale, Mikey's in the house. When you get a trade sale, this is what you get: an unvaleted car, 4 inches in snow, that hasn't been moved for 2 weeks. So that's where the extra money goes, guys. You actually get the car valeted. So we're gonna get the Citroen, dig the Citroen out of this corner. Well, Jamie's gonna dig the Citroen out of the corner, and then we're gonna go and get a fry up, because my hands are frozen from standing and watching him. Right, let's go. You do love your Citroen bangers, don't you? I said the other day you got to have a little black book where you know where to sell cars. When you get a Citroen banger, you ring up man Mike from Wales. Turned up, it's Scotty. We promised him last weekend, now we got him this weekend, and he's in the Audi TT. 4-wheel driving it, mate, so you've been living it large.
Yeah, it's been great.
They're going up the rear end of all the holiday makers, because you've got an Audi badge, you need to tailgate everyone, don't you? It's I noticed you've done nothing about the wing yet. You've still got a nice shade of grey.
Yeah.
We're going to have a rattle can sort of tutorial for you, mate, aren't we? To get that all matched up. Silver's very hard as well. But it's been driving okay, hasn't it? You haven't any problems with it?
It's been beautiful.
I thought it was going to be a whole bucket of trouble. I wouldn't have let him have it otherwise. But it's been beautiful. So what we can do today, Scotty, what should we get done? Because I was going to have a bit of a laid back one. What do you think we should actually get done today then?
I think there's been a lot of requests for the Volkswagen Up. So I think it's time to finally get onto it. I know you like it as a bit of furniture, but
don't you know, you don't give the people what they want. You keep them asking over and over again. I guess we better get on and do that. But before we do that, we do need to have a look at the Nissan, because it was very slow to start. So those of you who can remember, we sold this Nissan yesterday, and it had been slow to start, fairly slow to start, but I thought it was just a bad battery. Today it took forever to start, which has probably flattened the battery. We need to find out what the score is with it. So I'm just going to do another battery test now, because when I put the jump pack on it, the jump pack was feeding the battery, which is normally a sign that the battery is really bad. But yesterday, when we checked, the battery was all right. It had low cranking, didn't it? Power too low. So this battery is completely toast. I wonder if it just is the battery then. It's saying power too low now.
have you got a spare battery just if I want it to see if it changes it?
Yeah, I guess we should do that, don't we? We need to find a similar sized battery. We need to eliminate that as being a fault. Because this morning when I came in, before it really slowly cranked, it had been suggested to me to put a jump pack on it first before I turned it on to see if that made it start any better. When I put the jump pack on, it immediately started feeding the battery in the... it only does that when the battery's super low. So, I don't know, yeah, we're going to have to try a battery, aren't we? Okay. So it has been a while, so I'll give you a reminder. This is a VW Up we bought from a subscriber as a Category N, non-structurally damaged. So I say Cat N, Cat S all the time. I keep forgetting, some people might not know. So if you bump your car and you go to an insurance company and you say to the insurance company, I've had an accident, they will assess your car and decide whether they want to fix it or not. Category S is structurally damaged, which means that something other than the outside panels of the vehicle has been damaged. It can be different severities. It can mean things like chassis legs are damaged, which are these things down here. Are bent and need to be cut out and re-welded, that kind of thing. Or it can be Cat N, which is non-structural. Now, Cat N non-structural, which simply means body panels like headlights, bonnets, wings, bumpers, that kind of thing. Things you can just bolt on. Now, if a car is new enough, most of those repairs will be done and it'll never go on the register. But if the car is old enough, those things can add up quickly, like a pair of headlights from VW, like £600, a bumper, £600, a bonnet, £600. It all add up really quickly, then it's got to be painted. So they then decide that it's uneconomical to repair it. It's not like you hear written off and you think of like really big damage. As you can see with this car, all it did was bend the bonnet, break the bumper, break the headlight tabs. So it's got a new bonnet on it, not quite the right white though. It's got new headlights in it, which we had a bit of drama with, and it's got a replacement bumper to go on. Once that's done, it'll be sprayed and it'll be back together. Like I said, if this was done when the car was about 5 years old, it would have been fixed. It never would have gone on the register. Because this car is 2012, and I think it was over the COVID period, they wrote it off because they were just doing it all over camera then. So it's nothing serious, but it is on the register, which means the car will have to be sold. Well, it doesn't have to be sold, but I will sell it 25% cheaper because it's on the register. Right, game over. Can't find the parts. I found the old clip. I found one new one, which is on its own. And I found the old one, but it's broken. There's no point putting it on because it won't line the bumper up properly, and that's the whole point of the exercise. It's got too many bits broken off it. So we're going to crack on with something else, and if we happen to find it along the way, that's the trouble with leaving projects for too long, isn't it? I'm sure you'll be hopping in the comments telling me that. Right, what then next, Scotty? Should we have a look at Rusty Hole Roof Micro, maybe?
That sounds fun.
Let's do that.
Look at this wonderful care taken.
This is the extent we have to go to do it at the moment, with the weather being this bad. The question is, will it start after all this time?
I think the real question is, why aren't you using the soft side of the bush?
Because I've tried that and it wasn't getting the snow off. Absolute plum. So we've got to get the big part of it off first. We get a machine polish anyway, isn't it? Get machine polish, they always do.
Even a Nissan Micra
Even
with a rusty roof.
A poo box Nissan Micro, yeah. With a rusty roof. We've got to see how much. Some people have been questioning, has the roof completely gone? It's been sat here that long. I can confirm that I think my gaffer tape fix is alright. You see if it wants to start. There's no way this isn't going to need jump starting, is there? Not a chance. No, dead as dodo. Dead as dodo. So bet's on. Will it start even with a jump pack on it? How good little motor is it? Oh, it's doing its thing. We've used up all the juice in the top dom one today on the truck, so hence why we're using the old Noco one on this one. Stereo, code in. God, I hope we got the code. CD player's going mad. Look at that! Get on! Start it up!
Yeah, it's doing something.
Sounds alright as well, doesn't it? Get her inside then. Should we have a look, everyone? How bad's it got? To be fair, it doesn't look any worse than it was when I first got it, to be fair. It's a thing of beauty, that, isn't it? So that's what it's been sitting around for all this time. That one little hole.
Little hole.
Yeah, if you can't get your fist in it, it's not classed as a big hole. Right, let's get cracking then. So game plan, we've covered the screen up with a bit of carpet and a bit of board. On the grinder, we have a fibre wheel. If you haven't seen one of these before, they're for your grinder. They basically just take the paint and the rust off, but they won't thin the metal. We obviously don't want to thin the metal any more down, we just want to get rid of the rust. So this won't actually gouge out and thin the metal like a flat wheel would or a grinding wheel. So we will take this back now. Obviously we need a mask to make sure we don't have things flung up in our face. And we should also have a face mask to sort of dust getting in, which I definitely will be wearing. Righto, let's get cracking. So as I said, you can see that it's not gouged the metal or thinned the metal out, it's just taken the paint off. So here's all our good metal. Obviously we want to cut out all our bad. Now there's some good signs here. I was hoping there would not be any pinholes and damage down here, and there's not. You can see it's shiny metal, so we're not having to go underneath the windscreen there. We will, this is pitted, but it isn't holed, so we can treat that bit and use that lip without having to move the windscreen out of the way, stop rust coming through again. But we will have to cut all of this out. Now, what we're going to use to repair it. Now, I'm not going to weld, because if I weld, there is a danger that I get too much heat in there and I could damage the screen. You can see that structurally wise, this is the actual structure for your roof. This is the strength. This skin is just over the top. It's not even attached to that. It is just sitting on top. It's very thin metal. So this isn't a structural part of the car. This is the structural part. So what we'll be doing is we're going to hoover out all the crap from here, but first of all, sorry, the rubbish. First of all, we're going to cut this section out, then we can get the hoover properly in. Like I said, I don't want to go too close to the screen, I don't want to create too much heat, so now we're going to change the grinder over to a cutting disc. Obviously there's a reason we haven't cleaned the car first, because we're going to make quite a bit of mess doing this. There's no point cleaning the car first. Let's get this done. Get it to a point where it's in primer. I've got to order the paint on Monday, and then we'll clean the car up. Obviously, always keep your guard on your grinder. Don't take it off like idiots do. Right, let's get the hoover out, and oh, there's a bit more rot there. We're going to have to sort that out. It's a bit less of a lip there, but that's all solid there. So there's just one little bit there that's a bit close to the edge, but we've still got enough room. So we lost a bit more of the front edge here than I wanted to. That bit there was a bit more rotten. This is actually solid. That bit there's a bit rotten, but we've still got the return lip to the glass all right there, so we'll be all right. We'll treat all the inside, while I brush all this out, treat the inside of this out now, dry it all up, treat the inside, and then take a template of this hull and just clean up the edges of this a little bit, I think. And then take a template of this hull, and then I think what the game plan will be is I'm going to use a joggler, which I'll show you what that is in a minute, to joggle the edge of this all the way around, because I think I can get a joggler in. Yeah, I can get a joggler in. The only part I can't get a joggler in is here where it's against the structural bit, but that's okay, we can sort that out.
Obviously it's good to wear a mask while you do this.
Yeah, in case the paper flicks up, use your paper cut. You've got to be thinking ahead all the time, Scotty. Let's pull that a bit tighter so we know it's right. Yeah, you don't want to be getting a nasty paper cut while you're doing this. A mucky template, that's what you want. Mucky template. Works every time.
Someone want to tell James that that's not how you use a vice. Oh, hang on a minute. There you go.
Good. Yeah, so just a smidge off on this end. You just need to trim a little bit off there. And maybe a little bit off the edge off this side. But other than that, it's going to be alright. So just to trim a little bit off there. A little bit off there. So at this point, some of you more observant people will have noticed that I completely forgot to leave room for the fact I was going to joggle this into place, which means leaving about an inch all the way around the repair panel. So now we haven't done that, we decided we are going to weld in. I've checked my gasless welder is working. It's not the neatest welder in the world, but it'll get the job done. Now what you'll see here is drilled the hole for the aerial already, so that's ready to go in. Also drilled holes along here. Now they should hopefully match up with that little bit of metal just there. We're just going to have to keep a close eye that we don't overheat anything when we start welding. But if you can see, it goes in there. It's just catching the edge of that structural bit, so I'll be able to put some welds in along there. And I'll be able to weld all the way along here. I'm going to struggle. I'm not going to be able to weld there, so we are going to have to fiberglass that bit. But I should be able to weld along the front here, along the back there, along the sides. But we'll just spot weld so we don't put too much heat in. Like I say, this is not a structural panel, so it doesn't need to be seam welded all the way around. I'm going to put a little bit of a bend in it, just to sort of match the roof a bit more. Just with my hands, just put a little bit of a bend in it. It's got a bit of curvature to it, but we can fiddle around with that as we start welding it in. Right, so we're just going to clean up the edges a bit, and then we'll start trying to get that weld on the go. So as we're now looking to weld, we didn't want to set fire to the headliner, so we moved the side trims off, dropped the headliner down a bit, and slid a piece of metal in, which is covering the wiring and the foam headliner covering there. You can just hear that piece of metal. So that's we'll have Scott on Firewatch as well. I've just got to get this lump of gunk off here, so I've got something to weld to along this edge, and then clean this off with the flat wheel. So we've got clean metal to weld to along here. I'll just do that a sec. Right guys, that was understandably challenging. That hasn't been used for about 2.5 years, so the welding wire is a bit rusty. This is thin as you like. It's taken me a little while to get the settings to where I want them to be. You can see the welds sit a little bit high because any more than that, it's just blowing straight through. I appreciate now when I got access to a gasless welder how much difference it makes compared to these a gas welder compared to a gasless welder. So for those who don't know the difference, this has got wire that's already shrouded in gas. So when you do it, the gas, what's the word I'm trying to look for, Scotty? The gas shields it as you weld, doesn't it? If you've ever used one of these versus a proper gas one, it's night and day. They're so much easier to use. But anyway, obviously I've been careful down the front here because it's very thin there. We're going to use some fiberglass to strengthen it. Now obviously this is probably still stronger than actually just fiberglass and a piece of metal in. It's welded it, like I say, where it's a bit thinner. I've been a bit careful and left gaps. But we're going to grind this down now. It's still pretty flat and it's obviously solid. We've welded against those holes against the bracing there as well. Again, just a reminder, this isn't structural, so it's just tarting it up really. So we're going to grind that flat now, and obviously can't afford to get it too hot because this metal's so thin, this roof is so thin. We'll grind that flat now, and then it will need fillering obviously to contour it a bit. And like I say, we're going to use a bit of fiberglass filler on the front where we've got a few little gaps. Right, so all welded in, ground back, and a thin skim of fiberglass filler. That's gone over the front edge there where there are a few gaps. Like I said, I didn't want to put too much heat in there. Fiberglass filler because it's non-absorbent like normal filler, so it won't absorb moisture. And just put it around the rest of the weld as well to fill any pinholes in. We have had a little bit of a dip here where we probably got a bit of heat in, so I need to knock that up. It will need a little bit of filler there. Obviously this would have been done and dusted a lot quicker if I'd stuck my original plan, joggled it and bonded in a panel. But I just sometimes bloody mind this, I just run with what I've done. I should have just done cut another template and joggled it down. But at least now you've got welded in. No one can say it's not sound because it's all welded in. I say we're welding along the structure there and then around the edges. There was a high risk, like I say, that we could have damaged the windscreen welding in here, which is right. So I didn't put heat in there, but now I like to say I have got a dip here where we've got too much heat in there, so I'm going to knock that back up and put a bit of filler in there. But it's getting very cold. It's getting very dark. I think Scotty's probably had enough for today. He's been on fire watching inside the car for most of the time. I've got to get the right paint ordered from Marlowe's on Monday morning because we've got to do a bit of paint on the back as well. I want to paint the alloys on this. So, and I imagine this is going to take a while to go off. I did put extra hardener in it, but I imagine it'll be a while to go off. So you'll have to wait for the next instalment. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button. What I need to do, Scott, you tell them what they need to do.
Well, what do they?
For goodness sake, we're trying to be like one of these next salvage rebuilds. We're trying to be the next salvage rebuilds.
The cold's gone to my head.
Yeah, I'm Rob, and you're the other one. Who's the other one?
I don't watch it, I'll be honest.
Cut. No, so what you got to tell them is they need to subscribe so that they get an alert when the next video comes out.
All right, like, subscribe.
We'll work on this, guys.
Yeah.
We'll work on this. If you're going to be on the channel more often, Scotty, we need to work. We need to get better at this kind of thing. We're never going to have Lamborghinis like Rob if we don't pull our finger out. Anyway, catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Comment down below. Tell me what bodge job I've done. You know you love to. Catch you again soon.